Kevin Sessums, author of Mississippi Sissy. Welcome to Don't Lecture Me.
Thank you.
When you were preparing for the book, did you find that the memories had been constantly on your mind, or did you have to go back through journals and scrapbooks and reference relatives?
No, if you've ever gone to a shrink and you've talked to a shrink, you have sort of easy access to a lot of trauma that happened in your life. And when I talked to my shrink, she'd always go, "Oh, this is such narrative." Like she was bored hearing about it. Finally said, "Why don't you write a damn book?" You know? And I'd go, the memoir is a hackneyed form. This was even before James Fry and A Million Little Pieces, and I didn't really want to do it. And but then as the book approached, and people kept pitching the idea of my writing this story, it was, once I got into the process of it, it was, as I tell my friends who can understand this, especially friends from Mississippi, because a lot of Yankees can't understand what I'm about to say, that it was as close to as an extended state of prayer as I've ever been in.
So you found it to be a very cathartic experience?
Yes, it wasn't therapeutic, it was cathartic, which is a little
It's different, it's a different color.
It's a physical catharsis that...
Right. So now that you've gotten it all out, do you feel like you've sort of exorcised those demons?
I don't know if they're demons. Some of them were angels. But I don't look on it as an exorcism. I look on it as a work of art.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so in your book, at one point you said, "The world could kill my parents, I reasoned, but I could kill it right back by being otherworldly." And in reading your book, I noticed that you learned very early on the power of shocking people. And you even, like, this book is a form of that itself. Do you find that you still access that aspect of your personality?
Yeah. To go back to talk about a shrink again, I think I'm the only person who went to a shrink to learn to shut down, because I have always used my honesty as a weapon to throw people off guard, a bit. And if you grow up in Mississippi and you have any sort of difference within yourself, you can either let that difference fester, because differences isn't really celebrated here. Eccentricity is, but difference isn't. And I think you can either let that fester, or you can just get it out in the open and put people off guard with it and try to use it as part of your charm, And some people have said this is a book about a coming of age of a little gay boy, but I look at it as a much broader subject than that. I think it's a book about difference in all its forms. Since I grew up in the 1960s in Mississippi, it has to be a book about race.
Of course.
It's a book about maternal love and sort of the healing power that can give you as your paternal love strengthens you. Your maternal love that you get sort of heals you from that strength. And it's a book about a murder that I had to get through, and it's a book about a molestation that I had to get through by a preacher who preached the revival where I gave my life to Christ when I was 13. And I think that was important to put in the book, because a lot of people think it only happens in the Catholic Church, but it happens in the Protestant Church too. But one of the things you take with you when you're molested is complicity. You feel complicit the rest of your life in your own molestation, because it's not a sexual act, it's a perversion of trust, and you just always feel guilty about it. And the person who molests you always counts on your not telling, because as you're telling, you're sort of telling on yourself. So
because there's a certain degree of shame associated with it, and you feel...
Yeah. Shame is a poisonous ingredient in one's life.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Well, so when I was reading it, I found myself almost jealous of your recollection of your early memories from your childhood. How much of it was detailed memory etched in your brain, and how much of it did you kind of elaborate?
Right. Well, I'd say in the beginning of the book that all the conversation I created. I think I'm as true to the people and the events as I could be. All the names are real. All the events are real. The conversation is my own, made up conversation. I wasn't taking around a tape recorder with me. But even then, as a little sissy, I had the talent to listen, because you're always sort of on the outside and listening, and especially if you're sitting inside with the women. Because a lot of little sissies in Mississippi, we sit inside with the women and listen to them talk and laugh and confide.
Can you tell me something about being bands in Tupelo?
Band in Tupelo, I wear that with pride. Honey.
Okay.
They were very anxious for me to come and sign books because the man who ran the store had seen me read at a big Southern Independent Booksellers convention in Orlando, like the September before the book came out the next March, and loved the reading and loved the book. And then the man who owns the store read the book and had gone to school with Frank Dowsing Jr., who was an All-American football player from Mississippi State, who I had an affair with. And the real sex scene in the book is the sex scene that I have with him. And he was so upset of the portrayal of Frank in the book, because he said he knew him in high school. He refused to have me or the book in his store. And I thought I wrote a very loving and dignified
I think you gave a
portrayal
very
of Frank.
gentlemanly portrayal.
Yes, he was a gentleman in the book, and smart and brilliant and he's sweet. But some people can't put the word homosexual and dignity and love in the same sentence. But then I went to Square Books in Oxford, and they had heard about my being banned in Tupelo, because once I was banned in Tupelo, I'm in the press. I've worked for 30 years at Vanity Fair and for Interview Magazine and Condé Nast. I know the press. So I got on the horn and I talked to everybody I could talk to in the press in Mississippi, so that people knew I was banned in Tupelo by this man. And if he wanted to get on the phone and defend it, he could get on the phone and defend it. But I was going to get the word out there, So Oxford already knew I'd been banned in Tupelo by the time I got to Oxford. And they brought out a T-shirt when I arrived at Oxford and at Square Books with this picture on the cover of my T-shirt, like this. And on the top of it had banned in Tupelo. And underneath it said, "Who's the sissy now?" So I wear that as a badge of honor.
Good for you. So are you still banned in Tupelo?
I hope so.
Okay, good. Okay, well, so a lot of the issues that you address in Mississippi Sissy, like you said, it's not just about being a homosexual child, but a lot of the cultural references are distinctly deep South and distinctly Mississippi. Has that affected the reception of the book in different areas of the country?
Yeah, it made the New York Times bestseller list for a few weeks. It's been ghettoized in a way because Richard Ford, another Mississippi writer, told me, "Don't call your book Mississippi Sissy. A lot of people will not pick that book up." He was adamant about it. Don't name your book Mississippi Sissy. And I thought about it at first, and then I got very sort of uppity about it, and I thought, well, it's not truthful to the book if I name it something else and you pick it up and you read a book about a Mississippi Sissy. So that if people pick it up thinking they're going to read about, like, one of the houses that wanted it, the six houses bid on this book, and one of them really wanted it a lot, but we were going round and round because they wanted to call it Murder at Bleak House.
Oh.
And I thought, you know what, that's a pretty good title, and it'll probably sell in airports, but it's not true to the book I wrote. And this book's about being true to yourself, and if I can't be true to the book itself, then why tell this story that I'm telling? I get a lot of Southern people who have moved away from Mississippi who, in a strange way, there's this homesickness in these comments that they send to me. In a strange way, we feel like we had to escape it, but you never can escape your home. Your home lives in your heart. And Mississippi, if you've ever lived here, been born here, you can't deny it. I mean, when you tell people, I've lived away since I was 19. I'm 52 now, next week. And when you tell people you're from Mississippi, it either starts or stops conversations. It's either they move away from you, or they go, "You come sit down on the couch next to me, honey, and let's talk."
Exactly.
Because they want to hear about it. Because and to a lot of people, it's an exotic thing to say. To be a Mississippian I almost get the same response when I tell people as an adult I'm from Mississippi that I got living in Mississippi as a child and being a sissy. They look at you as if you're a creature.
Right.
Like you're some alien creature.
But it's like all of those childhood experiences, however meaningful or traumatic they may have been, have led you to exactly this point.
Right, just sitting here with you in Hattiesburg, Mississippi at the University of Southern Mississippi, Barnes & Noble.
Exactly.
I got that plug in, right?